GOP senators who teamed up with Democrats to reject the president's emergency declaration.
The joint resolution is passed.
Could this spark a Republican revolution against Trump? California Governor Gavin Newsom on his historic decision to kill the death penalty in California, and the president's angry response. And it is Feel Good Friday on View Your Deal. The House of Hot Topics is in session with Whoopi, Abby Huntsman, Joy Behar, Sunny Hostin, Meghan McCain, and Anna Navarro. Now, let's get things started.
Oh, wonderful. How old are you today?
I am 27 years old.
Oh, happy birthday. He's just high on life, the guy. My goodness. That's so nice. Okay. Come back every day. So, you know, everybody's in a good mood, but I have to start with a sad thing, and then we'll move on, because there was a terrible thing that happened in New Zealand. Maybe you read about it. And our hearts are just broken over the act of terror that claimed 49 lives in 2 New Zealand mosques. 3 people are in custody right now, and keep watching ABC News as this story unfolds. It's just awful. It's scary. The whole world is a little scary right now, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. So now you can get back to being happy again. I mean, we're sad for them, but what are we going to do? It's terrible. Here's politics. Most Republican senators stood by as Trump's Muslim ban took place, his gutting of environmental law and immigration policies that separated families at the border, put kids in cages. But it looks like there finally could be some turning. 12 GOP senators aligned with Democrats. Imagine that. To reject his emergency declaration for the border wall. Trump made it clear what he plans to do about it, tweeting, veto. Does he think that's a person from Italy, or does he veto?
I think he was trying to say veto.
with the hand emoji.
There's the alphabet right. So now what happens? He vetoes that, and now they have to have 2/3 to overthrow it, right? Override the veto in the whole Congress, right?
Well, right, in both houses, and they're probably not going to get there. The likelihood that they get there is very slim. This is being challenged in court, so we're probably going to see court action as it goes through the courts. You can explain that more. But look, to me, these 12 senators, I know a lot of them, were not aligning with Democrats. They were aligning with their principles and their convictions and their spines for once.
Yeah.
You know, they were remembering that this is not about being a rubber stamp for a president because he happens to be of your party, but rather being and behaving as an independent, co-equal branch of government. He is usurping the power of the legislative. Yeah. He is setting a bad precedent.
Well, the Congress is responsible for the purse strings. That's in the Constitution.
Exactly.
Right.
So they are basically giving up, I mean, people who are strict on Constitution, like Ben Sass and Ted Cruz, are both saying, forget the Constitution, I'm sticking with this president. Why?
They're up for re-election. This highlights to me the worst part of politics. I think this represents the worst, because you're putting your election and your party before what you feel is best for this country. Tom Tillis is a perfect example of that in North Carolina. He wrote an op-ed just a few weeks ago saying that against this, saying that it was intellectually dishonest. Yeah. And then just fast forward to yesterday, he voted against it because he's up for re-election. Wow. So there are over 20, I believe, Republicans up for re-election in 2020. The only one that voted against this was Susan Collins.
Yeah.
She's up for re-election.
She's
in
up for
Vermont.
re-election, so I give her a lot of kudos because
Do you?
either way, she's in Maine, which is
Maine, not Vermont, right.
not the most conservative state, but she could get flack for voting either direction on this. I wish I saw more Republicans that were up for re-election voting this way, because then it shows you care more about this country than it does about yourself and about political.
But what do you
party.
think they're scared? Are they scared just of that they're not going to get reelected, or is there other fear? Are they afraid of Trump and his wrath and the fact that he calls people names
That
and
may
goes
be
after
part
them?
of it, but if you consider yourself a strict constitutionalist, then there is no way that you could vote in line with Trump, because the two can't coexist. But I think what may be interesting is when you look at this winding up in the courts, you have these three separate but equal branches of government. And so the courts, I think, are going to look at the legislative intent behind this, because the legislative intent is really clear. You have the House, you have the Senate, and they're saying we don't agree with the executive branch. We don't agree with the president. And so what are the courts going to do with it, I think, is going to be very, very, very interesting.
I see.
And on the legal angle, there's a court action that's been started by an alliance of 20 states being led by Javier Becerra, the Attorney General
16
of
states.
California.
16
Yeah, but this is,
states.
by the way, this is what Trump
And they
wants.
blocked.
Trump knew
they
from the
voted.
beginning that he would probably likely have to veto this. And with his base, he's thinking, this is exactly what I need to do to show them that I'm going to stand strong on the border, because now it will go to the courts. And we know that takes a long time. So this will go likely well into the 2020 race,
I
which
think that's
he
right.
sees as an advantage, I think, for himself politically.
I think that's right.
Okay.
Yep.
You have anything to say on this, Matt?
I agree with what Abby just said. That everybody's playing politics all the way around. I will say, when you're talking about people like Mike Lee and Rob Portman, they are strict constitutionalists. And Mike Lee, I would say, is probably, he was rumored to be up for the Supreme Court. He's one of the most, deeply dedicated to the Constitution of, I think, any politician
Is
probably
he a Tea
serving.
Party guy?
No, I would say he sways more libertarian. But I'm just saying, the question I wanted to pose to the table was, does this change your mind about Republicans now in any way? That there are 12 people.
I'm more hopeful that they'll start to see the light and start to really realize what's going on in the country.
Yeah, but you know what? Democrats, if this were reversed, I promise you, Democrats up for re-election would have, some of them would have voted, if this were under Barack Obama, would have voted
Maybe.
in favor.
You don't know
for
that.
their
That's
well,
hypothetical.
no, because there's
You don't
politics
know.
on both sides.
But I think
though.
we don't know, though. You don't know that. It never happened before.
But I think that's why people get so cynical about politics, because of the inconsistencies of politicians depending who is in power. And so if you were against the executive actions and the emergency orders by Barack Obama, then you've got to be, hold the same convictions. And the same thing goes on both sides.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Well, I also think what constitutes an emergency, we should maybe make a baseline for this, which I think should be hurricanes, God forbid, terror attacks, things that are actual emergencies.
Well, that's the thing.
how is this
When
an
a Democrat
emergency?
is in power,
That
they could
is
say,
the point, is
have
that
one
if it's
more-
reversed.
Have one more school shooting, and that'll be the end
you
of,
know
of,
it's an
of
emergency
the
because
AR-15.
he's only played golf 5 times since declaring it instead of 12.
Yeah, right? How is it an emergency? That makes sense.
All right. Okay. What are we talking about when we come back? I can't read this. They're telling me what we're talking about. Oh, Whoopi's surprise visit. Yes, she was here yesterday. And we had such fun with her. We'll be right back.